What if I tell you that the key to enhancing student success in schools has nothing to do with school? It's not the data, the testing, the curricula, or the grades. The key is parent engagement. Parents are the gatekeepers and experts of their children. They know what motivates them and what doesn't, their strengths and their challenges, their triggers and trauma. And yet, when it comes to educational planning, parents are often ignored or disregarded in the process. I grew up in rural Georgia in the 1970s. We were the only Indians in our community for a very long time. Hindi is my first language. But I loved going to school. I would wake up every day energized, ready to be a sponge and soak up all the wisdom my teachers were going to impart. In second grade, Mrs. Smith, my teacher, asked me to take the gifted test. I had no idea what that meant, but I knew it was something special. And I followed the proctor down the hallway into a room that can only be described as a mini library. There were books everywhere, one table in the center, 2 chairs on either side, and she and I assumed our positions. She slid the test to me with my number 2 pencil, and I feverishly began filling in the answers because I was going to be in the gifted program. I knew it. In what seemed like 5 minutes, I handed everything back to her, stood up nice and tall, grinning ear to ear. I skipped back to class, my 2 long braids just swaying with as much excitement as my body was exuding. I knew I had done it. A few weeks go by, and Mrs. Smith calls me to her desk. And she says, "Punam, I'm so sorry. You didn't make it into the program." I can't tell you what she said after that. And somehow I made it back to my desk. But I remember feeling dejected and humiliated. My confidence was shattered. And my love of learning ended that day. My parents are immigrants from India. They come from a hierarchical society, and they didn't know that they had options or they could advocate for me. And so I did fall through the cracks. But I'm not blaming them. I am applauding them because the next Indian family that moved in, their son was also sitting in the same seat I was. He too had not made it into the gifted program. But my parents told his, "Go ask, inquire, and advocate." He not only made it into the program, he was valedictorian of his class, graduated from MIT, and is a successful businessman. The power of parent engagement. My family's story is not unique. We're not alone. There are so many thousands of families who face this every single day. In 2015, more than 50% of the immigrants who came to the U.S. came from Asia and Mexico, where English is a second language. And a quarter of our classrooms are comprised of students who are first generation and immigrant children. And we haven't even talked about our economically and socially deprived communities. And yet, we don't lend a hand to help them as effectively as we could. In a former life, I was a special education teacher. And in special education, we have an IEP meeting for every single student, individualized educational plan meeting. And it's where the whole team gets together and we talk about the growth and goals of the child. And in this particular meeting, I was at my computer, and my educational team was on this side of the table, the reading specialist, the speech-language pathologist, and on this side was the mother who had taken 2 buses and time off of her hourly wage job to attend this meeting. And my team is going on and on and on and on about the goals that this child needed to get on grade level. And as I turned to type in the goals, a light bulb went off. The mother has not said a word. It has been 30 minutes. So I turned to her and I said, "What would you like your child to accomplish this year?" And she graciously said, "I agree. He does have all of these academic needs, but I need him to have independent living skills so that when he graduates, he can be a productive member of society." I looked at my team. We were stunned and embarrassed. We had just bulldozed over this mother and her own son's educational needs. I equate this story to being a project manager and spending months and years working on a project only to be called into a boardroom and to be ignored. A few years later, my own children were taking the gifted test, and 2 of the 4 did not make it. But I knew what to do. I knew I had a voice. I knew I could advocate. So I donned my supermom cape and I sprung into action. I worked with the teachers and administrators to find solutions and resources. And together, we did get my children into the program. But it is because I knew I had a voice. Many parents don't know that. They don't know that their voice is important. So why are they so hesitant? They don't know what to ask or that they can ask. And they're not sure how much to share. How much is too much? How much is too little? And quite frankly, in that particular mother's case, we did not even ask her opinion. The Centers for Disease Control tells us that 3 things happen when parents are engaged. We see higher academic achievement, higher socio-emotional skills, and lower incidences of drugs and alcohol. Don't we all want that for our children? So what are we going to do? How do we change the narrative? How do we bring parents to the table as partners? For many years, I've worked with parents to help them understand their role in helping their children succeed. And so I created a parent-student-teacher checklist. And it's where we talk about what's in the best interest of the child. Not academics, not data, not promotion, not retention. What's in the best interest of the child? Do they learn auditorily or visually? Small group or individually? And what is happening at the school that the parents need to know so that they can help their child develop coping mechanisms? This is a conversation checklist. And when we have conversation, by default, we have collaboration. How do I know it works? I lived it. What started out for me as just being a volunteer turned into a trusted relationship with teachers, administrators, and school district personnel. Like when my child was told to go back to her home country. I went to the principal, my friend, and said, think we probably need to address this before it becomes a campus-wide issue. And he went on the loudspeaker the very next day and told every faculty, student, and staff that bullying would not be tolerated on his campus. Or when a school board member asked me to help on the calendar committee at the district, I didn't even know there was one. But when I got there, I realized how the calendar was put together for the district. And one small change during finals week would ensure that students had more instructional time in the classroom. When I raised that suggestion, we worked together to implement it, and it impacted over 100,000 students in our district. And when there was an immediate vacancy on the men's tennis team, I was asked to step in and take them through their season and into the district finals. I led with solution-oriented ideas and compassion and empathy. Every one of us needs a cheerleader. Our children are no different. We need parents to come together, build relationships and trust with our teachers and administrators so our children can reach their fullest potential. I know what you're thinking. I don't have time for that. I've got a job, I'm busy, I've got projects, deadlines. It doesn't take that much time. A simple text, email, phone call, or note creates that conversation. So that 8-year-old girl with the long braids stands before you today with much, much shorter hair, asking you to empower yourself, engage in schools, and change the trajectory of a child's education and future. Thank you.